You know, I've been traveling around the state kind of promoting a new program that we've started. This past year I settled a case and we received $1.3 million in a settlement with a pharmaceutical company for what's called off-label marketing. So essentially overprescribing in their sales. Well, the court allows my office now to use that for public outreach, education and training. We're also starting a new program, a grant program, to buy Narcan, the naloxone, essentially the antidote to an overdose of either heroin or prescription drug narcotics. So I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that we're going to have a higher rate, an increasing number of overdoses due to the fact that we've cut off the supply chain of the overprescribing of prescription drugs, essentially the oxycodone and some of the higher volume opioids. Well, what we really need to be prepared for is the number of people that are overdosing. So this new program is to buy Narcan for the first responders. I've been traveling around the state. There's 55 law enforcement officials and fire departments that are currently being trained on the use of what's called Narcan, so the street name of Narcan. It's a nasal ingester that will immediately reverse an overdose if you catch them in time. So the first responders are going to be not only serving and protecting us the way they've always done, but they'll also be saving. So serve, protect, and save. Over the last, since August, your fire department here has saved 15 lives from overdoses. So this is something that we're promoting because I do think the first line, the boots on the ground in this effort to save lives from overdoses, which again, it's going to really increase over the next year as we cut down the supply of opioids, is really going to be something that we have to triage. And one of the problems I've had is to talk to law enforcement particularly. We've always fought the drug dealers and the drug users as criminals. But right now we're facing a medical emergency, and you really have to let the medical side, the public health, take first response as opposed to public safety with the law enforcement. So there's no way to arrest our way out of this problem. Unfortunately, it's going to get increasingly worse. So let me do a little bit of thank yous. Deb McMahon, who's your Allen County Health Commissioner, has been a big advocate with our prescription drug task force. She's really been a champion of some of these efforts. Worked with us down in the State House to convince the legislature to do a needle exchange. I never dreamed that she'd be able to talk them into that. Also allowing more use of Narcan by lay people as well as first responders, but after they've been trained. So I want to thank her particularly. And here at Station 7, I want to thank our Chief Eric Leahy and the Deputy Chief Adam O'Connor for their service in saving the first 15 lives, but unfortunately I think there's a lot more work to do. We've also created a little program, the naloxone certified savers. So we hand out these pins. Maybe I'll let the chief do the honors to hand out pins to the men who've been certified. And also, let's see, a special thanks to John Fettersman, who recently saved a life. And if I could, I'd ask him to talk a little about kind of the incident and the specifics on saving a life as a fire department. You do that as a living, but if you could just tell us a little about it.
Certainly. Well, a quick history. Right before we were given Narcan on the rigs in this area, we had 10 or more overdoses of heroin or narcotics. So when we received Narcan on the rig, we got dispatched within about 5 hours to the first run in the city. And when we got there, the patient was unconscious, not breathing, but had a pulse. and all indicators by the standbyers said that she had overdosed. So we prepped the Narcan, administered it, and it didn't bring her back to consciousness right away, but it allowed her to continue to live. And then when the medics got there, they were able to bring her back even further. So it's always great to see someone survive, and to be involved in that, especially something so new, was very touching and very, very rewarding.
Thank you. And thank you, Chief. I know this is kind of a new mission that Station 7 has, but unfortunately we're going to see a lot more of it, and I appreciate your all service in it. So
thank you for your help.
Yeah. You want to help with the honors?
Yeah.
All right, so with that, we'll take any questions.
You talked about addressing the physical side of this. Anything that you're doing on the addiction side as well, any increasing programs?
Well, we have passed legislation that allows for programs to try to get people able to treat mental health and addiction. So that was recent, but again, we don't have the resources right now. There's not enough people to treat as many people as we've got addicted. So we've got a really bad problem on our hands here, and the first is the triage of catching people with the Narcan. But you can't get them into treatment if they die of an overdose. So first things first, but you're right, there's not enough treatment options available to help all the people that are addicted.
Is this mostly from people who overdose on heroin, or also for people who overdose on?
Yeah, it's any opioid. What we've seen recently is, and again, my office has helped close down the pill mills and the easy supply of prescription drugs. 3 out of every 4 heroin overdoses started with a doctor's prescription. So, I mean, keep in mind, these are not people who one day decided to use heroin. 75% of them, 3 out of 4, started with a doctor's prescription, got hooked on some opiate that was a legal prescription, and then when they ran out and no longer got prescribed, they went to heroin. So this is not people like in the 60s and 70s who start off, using heroin. These are people who, and they're everyday people. You ask the coroner and they'll see young people who got hurt in a football injury that started with 90-day supply of oxycodone. Easy to get addicted if you're between 18 and 24. Developing brains, easy to addict. People that are on long-term pain management, at some point they're going to have an addiction. So we've
not prescribing as heavily.
We passed a new rule this past year. There was statute and then a rule through the Medical Association that has what's called a best practice rule for prescribing. We've seen 11% decrease in prescribing habits of doctors. So all of this adds up as a reduction in the supply of opiates. Now the problem is, I was down in Mexico last month. They're growing poppies anywhere they can find a place to grow them. So they know there's this huge demand being unmet by the prescription drugs. So they're now shipping heroin in here, and it's cheap. It's $10 on the streets in a lot of cities. So we're going to see a lot of overdoses, and the reason you see high rates of overdoses, that people that move from a prescription drug that they think they know what they're doing, even though they've developed a big tolerance. By the time you're using heroin and you don't know what you're doing, first of all, there's not a proper way to use heroin, but the rate of overdose, it's usually the first time. So they don't know how much, what their tolerance level is. Sometimes they're in Kokomo, it was cut with something that was pretty bad, and we had 25 deaths within the last 30 days.
You were talking.
Yes.
No, go ahead. correct me if I believe I'm correct. When it's cut with fentanyl, the Narcan will still work. If you get
It will.
that.
It will. The Narcan actually blocks the receptors, so it'll knock off the things which really quit your breathing. And it's really, to see it in action, it's like within a minute or two. So it's a reversal of the overdose symptoms. So you stop breathing, you hit them with Narcan, and they revive. I mean, either come back halfway, maybe not fully conscious, but they start breathing again, which is what you want to quickly get to.
So my question was, you said you've been touring the state and talking to various fire departments for their program. Where does Fort Wayne's measure up against the rest of the states that you've visited so far, or cities rather?
Well, I will say, the fire station here is, part of the new group that have been trained. Around the whole state, we have 55 who are certified like this, but we have 400 law enforcement and fire stations total. So we've got a lot more work to do. These are kind of leaders in the field. So again, within 5 hours of being trained, they're saving a life. So we really need to work harder to get everybody trained. I'm going to use as much of the money that we've gotten from the pharmaceutical lawsuit to get out to people, so they may not have a budget for as much as we need. But you've got to save their life first before we get them in treatment.